What is up, Copy Squad? It's your boy Kyle Milligan of KyleTheWriter.com, and today we're going to talk about trust and credibility hack for beginning copywriting. This is part of a series at this point. Over the last 2 or 3 days, I've talked about how to get copywriting clients, especially if you're new and you have no experience or portfolio. Every day I just kind of keep pumping out ideas like, here's how you can actually still build credibility, get some clients, and start making money. The reason I keep talking about this is because I see time and time again that people are going about starting, like beginning copywriting, completely the wrong way. And basically what they're doing is they're like, hey, I'm brand new to the scene, give me a shot, I'd like to try out my copywriting skills. But that doesn't build any credibility. There's no trust whatsoever whenever you come out the gate saying you don't have any clue what you're doing, okay? So I propose that you do the same thing that you do in regular copywriting, which is you focus on the big 4 selling emotions. Those are new, easy, safe, and big. If you can trigger these 4 emotions, you can pretty much sell anything. And that even applies to yourself. If you can sell on these big 4 emotions, convey these to your prospect. If that's a client, then you can sell yourself to them. And a lot of people are having a really rough time with the safety emotion, okay? First off, I explain all 4 of these emotions plus a amplifier emotion for each of those. So that's 4 big 4 emotions, and then a way you can amplify them to make them even more powerful in your copywriting in a book that I wrote called Take Their Money. And it's available at KyleTheWriter.com/book. And if someone would please drop that in the comments for me so that people can click that and go to the link, I'd appreciate that. So let's talk about these big 4 emotions: new, easy, safe, and big. Now, where people kind of get hung up is the idea of new doesn't necessarily, you aren't inherently good for being new. Being new in this circumstance takes away from safety if you're a brand new copywriter, okay? So think about, if you say, I'm brand new, you're not really doing the new emotion correctly, and you're actually subtracting from your safety and credibility. So the purpose of this video is to really hunker down on the safe emotion, because what safe means, as I described in the last video, is it has nothing to do with like I said, it's not like you're going out rollerblading and you put on a helmet and knee pads. We're not talking about that kind of safety. We're talking about the trust factor. The safety that whatever you're pitching will actually fulfill on the promise that you are claiming to make. So whenever people start cold pitching for the first time, the big mistake that they're making, I cannot get center with this camera, the big mistake that I see that they're making, especially on Facebook groups where like, critique my copy, they lead with the worst thing they can lead with, which is that they have no trust or credibility. I see people like coming out of the gate and being like, hey, I'm brand new, so you can get my rates for super cheap today. Like, no, dude. Like, you're a dollar store copywriter that could fall apart as soon as you start writing. That's what you're communicating, okay? Remember, with copywriting, it's a secret language that communicates in the subtext of the words. It's not what you say, it's not the words on the page, it's what you communicate. And that's why a lot of beginner copywriters struggle with the language of copywriting, because they see the plain English, which is written at like a 5th grade level, 6th grade level, and they see those easy, simple sentences, and they go, oh, I can write that. But what they're completely overlooking are the big 4 emotions that are communicated in the subtext. Specifically, when they're starting out and they want to pitch themselves, and they're totally missing on the safety aspect. So how do you build trust and credibility without a portfolio, without experience, or anything like that? I have a hack for you. And it's basically sort of like borrowing credibility, okay? So I can tell you a couple stories right there. So I like to tell stories so that you can kind of 3-dimensionalize it, and because everybody's got their own unique experiences and circumstances. So if I can tell you like a story with a couple different people, you might be able to better apply this to your life. Instead of giving you step 1, do this, step 2, do that, step 3, follow my simple template, and you can make $1 million. I'll tell you a story. Story 1. Here's how this idea came to pass. I received a message today. This is how I get all my video ideas. I got a message today from a viewer, and the guy was like, Kyle, I want to say thank you for all your videos, and he said, I bought your book, really liking it, kind of helping me make sense of things. And then he said, and I watched your video about getting your job at Agora. I'll link that right here if you want to check it out. He said, I watched your video about getting a job at Agora, and it actually inspired me to reach out to Joe Schrafer. He said, I was surprised, but Joe actually got back to me. He said it only took like I don't want to make any promises for Joe. Now Joe's on the clock when people email him, but he basically said that Joe got back to him. He was really shocked that all he had to do was send an email, right? Take action. Take action is what I say. And he actually got to talk to some people about like what it might take to get a job at Agora. And he didn't necessarily land the job, but I was like, dude, you have no idea how much further ahead of the competition you are just because you took some action, right? So then it turns out he didn't mention me. And that is an important thing to note, because basically what you can do is I learned this, and I didn't learn this from a copywriting book. I actually don't recommend you read a lot of copywriting theory. I learned this from Keith Ferrazzi's book called Never Eat Alone about networking. And basically one of the quickest, easiest ways you can go from being a nobody to somebody is to mention a mutual connection. Mention a contact and you automatically have some credibility. That's borrowing credibility. I do this all the time. I'm gonna show you examples of how I do it in my videos, like constantly. So anyway, I was like, dude, next time you follow up with your copy, because he's going to write some stuff, I was like, dude, you definitely should mention my name. You go from an absolute random online person to having a story. And if you mention someone like, okay, I've been watching Kyle's videos, you could say something like that. However you want to put your name, my name beside your name, because what you do is you juxtapose the names. You juxtapose the familiar name with your random name, and all of a sudden you become familiar. So you can just say something completely, arbitrary, like I've been watching his videos. Well, automatically, that means, hey, wait a minute, this guy might understand our business model. He might not just be some random guy coming out of the ether, like I want to write copy and make $1 million. No, he's been watching Kyle. Maybe he gets like how our business works. He understands like the type of copywriting we do, the type of prospect that we have. And all of a sudden, you get all this borrowed credibility simply from saying my name. We do this all the time in our sales letters. I'm going to show you a couple examples, but first I want to talk about the theory behind this, okay? So I got another story for you. I got notes on this one. Let me read them real quick. So my girlfriend is a hairstylist, and she also has like an online following and has like a Facebook page and all that stuff. So she wants to become a member of these like exclusive like hairstylist groups that are like kind of like a famous thing online. And what she was doing was she was immediately jumping into like the DMs of the top performers, okay? And I suggest that she try something different, and I think this is working out better for her. So there are these people at the top of the mountain, right? These guys are very hard to access. And again, let's say that's Joe Schrafer, right? Then you've got like lieutenants. You've got generals and then like lieutenants underneath, okay? So further down the line, you got Joe Schrafer's up here, and then down here you've got like Kyle Milligan's, right? So this is something that I got this idea from Robert Kiyosaki. So when I was studying for the Rich Dad Retirement Masterclass promo, I read all of Robert's stuff. I've got his board game right here. I bought it. I'm going to show you why this helped me with this answer too. And I got this idea that Robert always says about 4 green houses and then 1 red hotel. Okay, that also comes from this book or this board game where there's these cards. I want to show you the cards. I want to give you a visual, man. I want to give you something you can tangibly like wrap your mind around. And the cards, man, they're messed up in here. I was traveling with this. I took it with me to North Carolina recently to play with my family. This is actually a really fun game about learning personal finance. I do recommend it. Hope that wasn't too loud, my bad. But the cards look like they're all looking the same right now. There they are. Okay, here's the 2 cards. Small deal, big deal. Small deal, big deal. Okay? And that goes back to sort of like Robert's methodology by 4 green houses, and then you can get a red hotel, which is from the board game Monopoly. And so I was explaining to her, hey man, instead of trying to go straight to the top of the mountain, why don't you line up 4 green houses? Why don't you go down the line and find this person's best friends, their lieutenants, right? Get to know them very well. And then whenever you go to take the top of the mountain, when you go to speak to this like head king person, then you can say, hey, I'm actually friends with X, Y, and Z, and we talk about blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to make your acquaintance and say hello. That's borrowing credibility. That's an immediate credibility hack. You go from a nobody just dropping in from randomly online to somebody that is a little bit more trustworthy and you actually seem like a real person. On the internet, you could be anybody. So whenever you can put your name next to a familiar name, you are immediately borrowing credibility. If you're prospecting for clients, You can do the same thing. And that's why I tell you these stories, because I don't know what your situation is or how you might apply this to your life. But I kind of told you about, like my girlfriend's situation, where instead of going for the head honcho, why don't you come down their social media following, find out who like their lieutenants and best friends are, or just do a little bit of research, baby research. I always preach in research. Find out who those people are and buddy up with them. 4 green houses into a red hotel, right? Borrowing credibility. We're trading up, man. So I would recommend for that guy, when he gets back in contact with Joe, it's like, why didn't you name drop me? That's immediate credibility. I'm okay with you saying I follow Kyle or I watch his videos, because it lets them know that you actually understand what we do. It's borrowed credibility, and you put your name next to a familiar name. Just having them side by side borrows credibility. Now I want to show you examples of like how we do this. I've got basically I've got unlimited examples. So what's this? I'm just going to pull up a random promo. Okay, my $15 trillion gadget promo. Okay, so let me share my screen, and I'm going to show you how we do this in copywriting. So this is my promo for James Altucher called the $15 trillion gadget. Going down, and this is even James Altucher, dude. Like, he's a guru, right? He borrows credibility. We do it in all the guru credibility sections, which I also, one more thing, I also explain how to write a guru credibility section inside of my book, Take Their Money. It's at kylethewriter.com/book. If someone would please drop that link in the comments for me, I would appreciate it. So let me scroll up here until I find our section here. And I mean, it'll just be clear as day to you. There they are. Look, this is what we do, man. Say you're not totally familiar with James. We immediately put some pictures of James next to people you might be more familiar with. Everybody knows Tony Robbins. Damon John, he might be more famous for Shark Tank than being the founder of Fubu. We might want to update this. And then we've got, here we go, Shark Tank star Robert, and at the Venture Capital Conference. And nobody knows this guy, I guess. But yeah, we just put James next to familiar people. And then here we are. He knows Peter Thiel. He knows Mark Cuban, right? So it's not just me and you, right? It's not just us nobodies. Everybody does this. This is how you borrow credibility. And whether or not, like, James Altucher and Peter Thiel talk on the phone every single day doesn't matter. You just need to put those names next to your name, and you borrow credibility immediately. Okay, so let's see. I got some more notes. Again, please someone drop kylethewriter.com/book in the comments. I'll check for questions. If you got questions, please let me know. I'll check those in a second. All right, so little deal, big deal. I talked about that. I talked about 4 green houses trading up to a red hotel. Yeah, man, if you're marketing or if you're pitching, instead of going for, I mean, sure, start at the king of the mountain if you want, but here's another safer way to do it that I think is easier to do and build that safety aspect. Remember, we're talking about the big 4 emotions here. It all comes down to these: new, easy, safe, and big. And safe means like you are not going to screw over your prospect or customer. They need to trust you. That's what safety is. It's about trust. This is how you build trust. Again, the stuff that I give you on this channel, it's not an instant win. Like, some of this stuff might take more time, but it compounds. Because imagine if you got 4 clients below the head honcho, right? Like, say for instance, I don't know any good examples, but let's say AT&T, right? Or Verizon or something is the top, right? And you want to write for Verizon cell phones, right? So maybe first you work for Boost Mobile, Sprint, and T-Mobile, okay? Then whenever you email Verizon, you say, hey, I've already worked for Boost Mobile, T-Mobile, and Sprint. And I don't know, I think T-Mobile and Sprint might have merged. But the point is, it compounds, because now you've got 3 pieces of business or 3 people in your network, and you get the big fish. It compounds. It builds up and up and up. That's how the rich get richer. So this is the kind of strategy I think would be, and I keep coming back to it, like, how do you get a $1,000 client? You get it by starting with the credibility. You get it with starting with the credibility. I will get work forever, and I will be turning away work forever because I started with the credibility. I got the knowledge, I got the expertise, and I got the network. Then I started pitching. Which I don't even pitch. I don't pitch. The only thing I pitch is my book. I do not pitch freelance writing services. People ask me, and I have to turn them away because I'm too busy right now trying to make my own products. And I'm going to get to that. I got a new product coming in a minute. I want to kind of drop that for you. Okay, so I just showed you how James Altucher does it. I'm going to show you. Oh, this would be a perfect transition. Let me see if I got any questions first. Questions. Oh, Maro, thanks for dropping the link for me. Sod. Hi, Kyle. Great topic. This is awesome. Thanks very much, Sod, for tuning in. Okay, so let's talk about, I've showed you how James Altucher does it. I've talked about 4 houses and a red hotel. Now I'm going to show you a big reveal. Drum roll, please. Is this it? Here it is. Okay. what I'm about to show you, no one else has ever seen, ever. Like literally ever. This is the first time anyone's seen it. Okay, this is my guru credibility section. I had to write my own guru cred section for my sales letter for Take Their Money. If you haven't been following along, I actually have a sales page for Take Their Money that's live right now. And frankly, it's garbage. I didn't take the time to write a full sales letter. I just wanted to launch the book as fast as possible and see if it would sell. The book has sold tremendously. I'm getting really good reviews, so I took the time to write a full-fledged sales letter. And I had to write my own credibility section for that sales letter. So I'm going to show you how I do this credibility hack that I've been talking to you. And the credibility hack, for those just tuning in, is we're just borrowing credibility by name dropping. Once you juxtapose, and juxtapose means you put your things side by side, put your name, you're a nobody online when you cold email people. Put your name beside a familiar name, and all of a sudden you are just associated with credibility. That's a huge hack. You don't have to do anything. You don't have a portfolio, so what? You don't have any experience? Everybody's got experience. I'll link a video about that. That's a peeve of mine. Everybody has experience. Everything you've ever done in your life is experience, okay? So you don't have a portfolio or whatever, you can use these tricks, right? These are things that we do all the time in writing. So I'll show you how I do it right here. Okay, first off, before I show you the sales letter, I already did this trick to you a couple times in this video. See? So it's the language of copywriting, baby. Once the language of copywriting becomes second nature, you can do it like autopilot. You can do it all the time. So when I showed you the big deal card and the little deal card just a little while ago, why did I have these cards? Because I was researching my promo for Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So in the middle of demonstrating my example to you, I name dropped. I simply built my credibility by letting you know, oh yeah, by the way, I've written for Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So you see, I was able to juxtapose, and I do this all the time, guys. I practice new, easy, safe, and big in every single video, right in front of your face. If you're paying attention, you'll notice. So, yeah, that was one thing. I've already done it, right? I do that. Oh yeah, I did James Altucher's name earlier because I showed you the promo for James Altucher, which I wrote. When I demonstrated the pictures of James Altucher with Tony Robbins, I was also demonstrating my credibility because I wrote that promo. I literally do this all the time. This is how I build credibility and trust. This is the hack. I use it. I'm walking the walk here, baby. I do it all the time on autopilot because the language of copywriting is simply programmed into my brain at this point. It's like I can't even speak regular English. I literally just speak copywriting. So, okay, I'm gonna check one more time for questions. Nope. Great. All right, cool. So let me show you what I've got here for you. This is my guru credibility section. I just wrote this up. This hasn't been read by anybody. Hasn't been proofread or anything. So let's start with the headline. I'm going to read this off to you and kind of tell you, I mean, you're going to see me doing this credibility hack. They sure don't teach you how to speak to the emotional brain in school. I haven't seen anyone else talk about how to speak this secret sales language before, but while working at Agora Financial, I discovered how to do just that. It helped me generate over $7.1 million in sales in just a single year. My name, by the way, is Kyle Milligan. And for the past year and a half, I've been writing high-performing direct response sales letters for Agora Financial. The Agora companies are some of the most successful publishing businesses in the world with more readers than the Washington Post. I'm one of the few privileged copywriters at Agora Financial with the professional freedoms I enjoy. I work totally remote, writing anywhere I want, whenever I want, for whatever project I want. I am often sought after to work on projects with Agora's most famous partners, like Robert Kiyosaki, best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the #1 personal finance book in the world. This is a picture of me and Robert shaking hands at his headquarters, right? That's credibility. That's me beside Rich Dad, Poor Dad, okay? And then here, Silicon Valley insider and entrepreneur James Altucher, best-selling author of entrepreneurial book Choose Yourself, okay? Then there's me, embracing my man James Altucher, and we're smiling, we're happy. All right, I've got some more. James even joined me on my YouTube channel while I was still promoting Take Their Money's launch, okay? And then there's just a screenshot of when James is on the YouTube channel. We talked about 10 ideas a day. So again, me and James kicking it. And then here we go. I've also worked beside other best-selling authors like Jim Rickards, Mike Burnick, author of the Little Black Book of Income Secrets. So I hope you can see I'm not a here today, gone tomorrow online marketer. I'm a professional who takes my reputation and craft very seriously. Okay, so notice here, I'm doing it. I'm doing it right there. This is all a safety section. This is all safety and credibility building. But I didn't really have to say anything about my work. I just put my name next to other names. I also mentioned Agora Financial. Again, I just took that big name, and I put my name beside it. All right, and you can figure out a clever way to do this, however works best for you in your current situation, right? But I didn't really sit here and brag about the sales letters I wrote. I don't think I mentioned my sales letters anywhere in this sales letter, because nobody really cares about my sales letters, except for this very small niche of copywriters. Like, nobody really cares. But if they can see me standing beside Rich Dad, Poor Dad and #1 best-selling authors, it's a credibility booster, right? And that's where the credibility lies. No one cares about I got like 30,000 names from this promo, or I got this many millions from that promo. What they want is they want to know, okay, I made a bunch of money and I've worked beside really important people. I'm credible, okay? That's what's important to them. They just want to know that I'm actually a dude who's not just come out of nowhere, right? Because I have, kind of. I just kind of started a YouTube channel, and now I'm all of a sudden everywhere, like on Facebook and YouTube and et cetera, et cetera. But they just want to know that I'm not like exactly a here today, gone tomorrow marketer. I even put those words in there for that very specific purpose, because they just want to be able to trust that they're not going to get totally ripped off. And when you can see that I take my craft seriously, and then I'll testimonials and stuff at the bottom, and I put myself beside best-selling authors and credible names, builds credibility just because I put myself beside them, okay? Didn't even have to mention my work. Let me see if I got any more questions, and I got one more thing I want to mention. What did I do? Am I still sharing my screen? I don't know how to do anything right. Okay. Fred says you're frozen. All good now. Whoops. I hope you got everything I said. I hope it all came through. Let me know if you missed any chunks of content. I can maybe repeat it or something. Okay. So all this being said, you just witnessed my sales letter, right? I just showed you the credibility section of my sales letter. I have one more thing I want to show you really quick. Here it is. Okay. How can I do this do I have anything sensitive here? Let me do something really quick. Get rid of that and make this big. Okay, cool. This is what I'm gonna do. All right, look at my screen now. Okay, guys. So what I have here are sales letter drafts. So these are the sales letter drafts for my Take Their Money sales page. I got 1, 2, 3. You can see I saved it every day I worked on it. I started working on it in February. I basically finished it today, and I think I'm going to send it to a couple people to proofread for me. And I'm not getting any help from copywriters on this one. I'm just simply sending it to like regular people to proofread it. And what I'm going to do with this is going to be my new package. This is my new product, okay? This is going to be basically like the only copywriting course you'll ever need. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record a video for each of these drafts explaining what I wrote on that day and why. Then I track the changes from one day to the next. So you'll see changes on the 17th that I made to the 11th. And on the 22nd, you'll see the changes I made to the other draft before that. Then I'll wipe the track changes clean, right? So I'll wipe it clean so you can only see the changes that I just made. Then I'm going to record a video for each of these and explain exactly why I made those changes, and I'll show you the research I did. So I have a whole research doc, right? It's always in the research. I have a whole research doc for this sales letter that I just showed you, the one in the background, the one about Take Their Money, the Take Their Money sales page here. So that's going to be my new product, and I think I'm going to initially launch that at it's going to be a back-end product. This is basically going to be like the closest thing to an online mentorship as you can get, because I'm basically going to hold your hand through the entire creation of a sales letter. And this is probably going to start at right around $2,000, and probably like just for like the first couple weeks, and then go up to $2,500. And dude, I'm telling you, after you watch this, I mean, you'll know from A to Z, you'll be able to watch me write a sales letter, and you will be able to just mimic what I did, down to the research, right? I've got research videos that I sell right now. It's at kylethewriter.com/book to teach you how to do research. You can watch me. I labeled everything that I researched. I labeled the search that I ran, the date that I ran it, and I will be able to explain why I ran it too in the videos. So that's my new product. I'm going to begin recording those videos and working on that. Like, once the sales letter is complete, I want to get the sales letter done. I may have one more update tomorrow for the sales letter, but it's basically done. And then I'm going to start recording these videos to teach you how I did it. All right? So I don't see any questions, but that's my new thing. That's kind of what I'm really excited about showing you. And again, I'll recap really quick here in a second if no one's got any questions. But look for that. That's coming out, man. I'm hoping to have that out. It's March now. Today's March 7th. I'm hoping that product's out to you no later than early April at the latest, maybe before the end of March. So please let me know your interest level in that. Again, this is for copywriters who are writing copy and want to basically up their game. Again, my copy's brought in $7.1 million, over $7.1 million in a single year at Agora Financial. You'll be seeing loads of that in my sales letter. But this will definitely, like, once you write good copy, you will be making money on autopilot. You could make money on autopilot. I had someone message me today that they saw an ad for $15 trillion gadget. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. I mean, cool. Some marketer out there is running my ads for me. He said, it's a great ad. It's the only ad I've clicked to a promo. I said, thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate that. But that's it, man. Like, I wrote that a year ago. Some guy emailed me today and said, dude, I saw your ad. It was cool. And I was like, that's awesome. Buy it. But yeah, so that's how it works, baby. If you can learn how to make a really strong sales letter, it only takes one, man. And then it just keeps running forever and ever and ever. At least for like a year. Sometimes maybe longer. I shouldn't say at least for a year. Sometimes, if you're good and your market's willing and wanting of your product, then you can potentially run it for an entire year. I shouldn't make any promises that all your sales letters will run for a whole year. All right, guys. I don't see any questions coming through. I'm hoping this was helpful. I don't see anyone bringing in any extra questions. Again, the credibility hack. All right, we're talking about trust and credibility. Here's where people, I'm going to recap real quick and then I'll sign off. People mess up and then they just come to the scene, brand spanking new, and they announce how brand spanking new they are. And they're like, yeah, I'll discount my services. And maybe they think this is part of the safety. Like, oh, you won't have to pay a lot, so it's not a big investment. You're doing safety wrong. You want to build credibility instead. You don't want to sell on price. You never want to sell on price. You want to come in and say, look, Fred says, is that what's called a control? Yeah, a control is the letter that just runs, and then everyone tries to write a letter better. And if their letter converts higher, converts more sales per send, then generally their letter will run and your letter will run either less frequently or not at all. As you can see, my letter's been running for over a year, so I'm a pretty credible writer. I guess we'll put it like that. Okay, so you can also watch me create a sales letter from scratch. If you check out this new product I got coming out, please comment with your interest. I don't care if you're on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are. I am very, very interested to know your level of interest in this and how I might be able to cater this to be awesome for you. But the credibility hack is simply, if you're going to talk to someone and you're coming all willy-nilly out of nowhere off the internet, you need to juxtapose, you need to build some credibility somehow, some way. Super easy way to do that. Put your weird random internet name, and your name's not weird or random, it could be Jeff, something like that, right? But put your random name that nobody's ever heard of, put a credible name right beside it. It will borrow that familiarity and it'll borrow that credibility just for the fact that it's on the page together. So and again, this came from a dude who emailed Joe Schrafer and he didn't mention me. He said, I inspired him to email Joe and he's been watching my videos, and then he didn't mention me. So he had an opportunity to come in as a familiar name, or someone that at least maybe Joe would think, okay, so this guy probably understands what we do if he follows Kyle. He didn't have that credibility. He didn't have that advantage. Instead, he was just another random guy on the internet. You don't want to be a random guy on the internet. You want to be a credible source. And that's how you get clients. For your beginning copywriter, that's how you make sales, that's how you get clients, that's how you get success, baby. You got to start somewhere, right? The other thing I mentioned was 4 green houses, 1 red hotel. I got this idea from Robert Kiyosaki because I read all his books and even bought his board game when I was studying to write his sales letter for Rich Dad Retirement Masterclass. So I learned this very important lesson that Robert says about, you get 4 greenhouses, then you can get a red hotel. So if you're trying to go for the head honcho, it might be very difficult. It might be a really steep challenge, right? Like, for instance, when I do keyword research for these videos, I go for the low-hanging fruit, man. I take the really easy keywords that nobody's doing, that only have like 100, 200 searches a month. I take those keywords, man. I'm going to let all the big guys have the big keywords, right? I'm not going to mess with those. Eventually, my credibility will rise up in YouTube and on the Google and all that stuff, and then I can get those bigger keywords. It's the same thing with networking, man. Instead of going for the head honcho, maybe you come down here to his 4 favorite lieutenants, and you become best friends with him and them, and then you say, hey, head honcho, either one of these 4 lieutenants will pass your name up, Or whenever you do contact the head honcho, you have 4 names to put your name beside. And that is an incredible amount of credibility to build up. All right, hope you found this interesting. That's all I've got for today. Remember, if you want to learn how to speak the language of copywriting, which I have done throughout this entire video to your face. Like, copywriting is like a second language. It's a professional language. And once you master it, once you kind of like get it, once you get it in your brain, you can just speak it, man. And you can basically sell anything because you know the triggers to hit. There's 4 emotional triggers: new, easy, safe, and big. Knock those out in your pitch whenever you can, and you're going to be in really good shape for selling a lot of stuff. Help me generate $7.1 million at Agora Financial. If you want to learn how to speak the language of sales, just go to kylethewriter.com/book. Check out my book, Take Their Money, and it'll be getting a fresh sales page really soon, probably in the next week. That's all I got for you today, Copy Squad. Thanks so much for tuning in. Peace out, Copy Squad.